Hey guys, and welcome back to Let's Build a Steampunk City, episode 13. This week is our finale, the final episode. And what are we building? We are building the Center Administrative Tower. This building is going to be the tallest building in our city, and it's where all the little government agencies are going to be working out of. So our treasury, intelligence agencies, and immigration are all going to be located in this building, along with our city's Congress. Before I dove into the build, I went ahead and looked on Google Images for some inspiration and references that I could use for building this massive skyscraper. Now, there's many different themes you could go with for a skyscraper in terms of architectural design, but the one I felt that matched with our Steampunk City vibe the most was the Gothic vibe. There's two real-world buildings that I drew heavily upon. The first one was the Woolworth building located in New York City, and the second one was the Cathedral of Learning, which is located in Pittsburgh. Enough about that, let's get into the build. So I laid out a rough framework of what the building is going to look like with those three different tiers so I can get an idea as to how we're going to design this building. And with the rough framework done, I decided to come to the first section and begin our design on it. I broke up this side into 6 different panels. The top left and top right, I'm going with a arch window effect because I feel like it matches that Gothic theme we're going for. And then moving on to the top part of this first section, just adding in an overhang that comes out 2 blocks, not 1. And I tried copying and pasting those windows down to the bottom left and bottom right panels, but those panels were a little shorter than the top ones, so I had to manually put in a window design that has that same arch effect. Since we have finished up our Steampunk City build this episode, the next episode you can expect to see the finalized cinematic showing off the entire city in all its glory. And then after that, we're going to tackle a couple of smaller builds before we get ourselves into a giant city. So if there's something on a smaller scale like a cathedral or a castle you guys would like to see, drop in the comments. If it's something I think I can do, I'll go ahead and take a stab at it. Back to the build though, I'm adding that same doorway arch effect that we had on our palace. With the first floor done, it's time to come back to our rough framework and go ahead and add a little more detail to it. The first thing I do is carve a large giant window into that middle section. And now I'm just chipping away and adding some small sections to transition our rough framework to a more polished one. When the framework's complete, you'll see how the middle section rises up a little bit more than the left and right sides of it to get a sort of triangular effect that repeats itself going up the tower. And when I was mapping this out and building it up, I did make sure that it was indeed taller than our clock tower by a matter of about 10 blocks, I think it was. As we progress up the tower, you can see it's slowly getting that triangular effect and beginning to look like a really polished building. And that's our final framework of our building. Now it's time to come to the middle section and start working at that large central window. Much like how this arrow effect repeats going up the building, I'm also going to be repeating this large central window up the building, but not like that. That's just world edit misuse. The 2 tiers above that large window tier are also going to have a similar looking window on the same sort of scale. And then towards the borders of the window I added a nice little effect with the stone slabs behind and some stairs to add a little more depth to the edges of our window. One theme I repeated throughout this tower build is all the overhangs come out 2 blocks instead of 1 or 3, because I thought it was an appropriate scale for how tall this building is. And these 2 side panels are also going to have a window. It's going to be a diamond-shaped window, and this theme, like the central window theme, is going to be repeated as we climb up the spire. And at the top of all these central panels, I'm going to add a dormer roof like this one, and it's going to be unique in the sense that it's going to reach down to the left and right sides of the corners. The corners are going to have a roof, but it's just going to be a normal steep roof that just hugs the edge of the building and eventually connects with the center dormer window. Now I'm just coming with that black wood preceded by a glass panel, as we've done with pretty much every other window that's used this same design theme. So with that first overhang we put in, I decided to mirror it going back up into the building with an oak wood roof, similar to the design scheme that we used on the palace. It's important to make sure your building feels belonged in the city. You can achieve that by repeating some themes that you used on different buildings. As you can see, we're going to use that same corner adornment that we've used on the palace, the airship docks, and the apartments now, because I just love how it looks. Something I forgot to mention in the beginning, if it's not obvious already. Our tower is symmetrical on all 4 sides, so for the sake of time, I'm only going to be showing myself building the one side, and I'm going to copy and paste it to all the remaining sides off camera. And that's how that whole triangle theme is going to look. 1 down, 2 to go. So now I'm just outlining our frame with the chiseled quartz blocks, and I'm coming into the left side to add in a large diamond window. I then decided this was too big of a window, it's going to look too flat, so I came in with the horizontal divider with the stone slabs and the fencing that we've used on this and the inn and the palace to go ahead and break up that. Because when in doubt, if something's too big, just break it up into smaller panels. Now I may be a little conceited here, but based off of the Desert City cinematic, I guarantee there's going to be a couple of people asking for the download in the comment section. So based off of how small my YouTube channel is right now, I don't feel comfortable throwing it out there. So I decided, you know what, maybe I'll make this a sub goal. So if we're able to hit 1,000 subscribers, I'll go ahead and put up that Desert City build up for download so all you guys can play on it. And once we hit 2,000, the Steampunk City will go up on there. Getting back into the build, we're just going to repeat that same dormer window but on the next second triangle and have it connect to the left and right corners. As we scale up the tower, it gets narrower, and that makes it harder for the dormer window to connect to the left and right corners. So I had to bring it really far down so it could reach those. But overall, I thought it looked pretty good. And with it connected to the left and right side, just adding in some detailing with those pillars, adding some overhangs, and just pretty much repeating the same theme we did on the first one. And now we're adding in that large arch-shaped window. It's not as tall as the first one just due to size constrictions, but it's the same width. Then onto this next corner dormant here. We're getting really far up there. It's really thin now. I try to add in a small diamond window just barely in between those 2 pillars. It was around this point, dealing with those side windows, that I realized there's no way the dormer window is going to work on this center panel. I tried monkeying around, adding a large square chunk on top of that. It didn't look right. What I ultimately decided just to go for was a normal steep roof. Sometimes the best answer is the most simplistic one. I'm still trying to keep that diamond window that we had, but just because of the size, it's a lot smaller on here, but it is still there. Of course, I had to add in our stone slabs with fences on top just because it looks so good. And that's the third triangle finished. All that's left is to detail this final bit of the tower and add in our roof. Kinda hard to see here, but I'm trying to sneak in some designs into the corner, just carving away to reveal some stone slabs with some stairs. The roof for our tower is going to be the same one we used on our palace, but on a slightly larger scale. You can probably tell the roof looks slightly awkward. It doesn't overhang enough from the center bit of the tower. I ended up coming back off screen, destroying the roof and completely reconstructing it, but with a radius 1 wider. As you can see from this angle, it does overhang 1 extra from the initial design. With the roof done, we're moving on to the walls now. The corners of the bottom part, just added in some small details, carving away into it to reveal some more stone slabs. And then to the top part, adding in a diamond window with some detailing around it. With the face done, just coming back to the corners of our roof where it transitions to the main part of our tower and adding in a little design scheme there. And then just detailing up sections of the tower, adding in, of course, our stone slab fence one more time. And that's the final build of our Steampunk City finished. And I think this tower dethrones the palace as my favorite build. I like how that gothic theme was able to match with our Steampunk City. If you liked the build, go ahead and click that like button. If you want to see more from the channel, click that subscribe button. Next week you can expect to see the finished cinematic of our Steampunk City. Till then, Joe Bulby out.